Hello, Jen here with week 3 of the Christmas card series that Daisy from Daisy Scraps and I are doing, where we are taking some inspiration from Kristina Werner's holiday card series this year and picking a card that she's done to make for ourselves. So this week we picked the beautiful watercolor Christmas tree card that she made last week, and I'm just showing you here some of the stuff that I'm going to be using to make my card. So I have a big pad of 140-pound watercolor paper from Artist Loft. I have my mermaid markers, I have some mists, and I have some watercolors. So I'm going to start off with my mermaid markers, and basically I just smushed them onto a sandwich bag, sprayed a little bit of water on it, and smushed it onto the paper. And so you can see how the pink, that pinkish red one, and the green are super duper vibrant, but the purple and the blue didn't really blend as nicely. It's because I haven't used those markers as often, so they weren't quite as gushy coming out, but also they just needed a little bit of extra water. So I definitely recommend, if mermaid markers are the way you're going, spray them with a ton of water on the sandwich bag and you'll be able to really move them around. But do know that they dry really quickly, and they're just really intense, beautiful color, but they're quite saturated ink, so they dried the quickest of any of these methods. Next, I'm going to keep with those same basic colors, kind of that galaxy look. That's the first set of cards that Kristina did, had the bright galaxy colors, so I'm going to stick to those. And I'm using my different mists, and again, lots of water works really well with them. Kristina used 2 new packages of Tombow watercolor markers, and I just don't have those. So I figured that I would play around with these different mediums and let you see what worked for me, what didn't work, and then you can kind of come up with whatever products at home you have that you think might work. So next I'm going to move on to my watercolors, and I think I'm mostly using the Jane Davenport colors, but I do have some Primas mixed in there, so that's why it looks a little bit more full. And again, with the watercolors, you just want to use lots of water and get them nice and gushy on the package, and then they spread around really nice and they start to mix and mingle, and it's quite beautiful. But you can see how the watercolors don't give you quite as intense of a color, and so for me this was sort of the best way for me to achieve the more pastel look that Kristina was using, because she had one set of markers was the galaxy colors and one was a pastel, and of course I don't have those, so the watercolors worked really nicely as a less intense, less saturated colors on the paper. And now I'm going to spray my whole paper down with water. I'm adding a little bit more of the mist here just to have some wet mist on top, and then I'm going to smush saran wrap onto it, and you'll see it comes up with these beautiful patterns in the watercolor paper. And then we just sit and we let it dry and we watch the snow.
Oh, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. Since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. It doesn't show signs of stopping.
And now that I've pulled the saran wrap off, you can see the beautiful texture that this gives. And so I'm just going to sprinkle some tinsel on here to get a little bit more sparkle and shine. And here is some of the different lines and textures that you can see. I also put some lime green Heidi Swap mist on there too. So now I was just pointing to you down in that left hand corner. You can see that my silhouette is working away, cutting out some trees. I don't have any dies. That's what Kristina uses, but I don't have a tree die. So I thought the best thing for me to do was to find some tree cut files, and I'm going to just cut a whole bunch out from the paper. And in the meantime, I will emboss some sentiments down at the bottom of my cards. So you can see here I picked one stamp that says celebrate the season, and I'm just using some Martha Stewart silver embossing powder, and it's beautiful. It turns out lovely. And then I'm going to also use some reflection silver embossing powder and a different sentiment, so you'll see that. Here we go. This one just says Merry Christmas. And one thing I was going to say about the saran wrap, definitely take the time to watch Kristina's video, because you'll see that hers turns out even more pronounced, the way that the patterns show up in the watercolor. And partly that's because she's using smaller pieces of paper, so she's only working on like a 6x8 area, so everything stays wet a little bit longer, and she can paint directly on top of the saran wrap and apply that to her paper that's already watercolored, so she's getting some extra layers of intensity of color that I didn't do. Mostly because it would have been too hard for me, I think, to try and work on that large area and keep the colors roughly the way they're supposed to look. But it's really cool how hers turns out too, so definitely go and check it out. And there you can see all my beautiful trees. Oh, I love them so much. They turned out amazing. One nice thing about doing it with your silhouette or with your Cricut or anything like that is that Kristina was able to put her dies in the exact areas that she wanted, so she could kind of pick the colors and how she wanted the patterns to look on the different trees, whereas I just filled up my page and let it run through. So I didn't have any idea of what trees were getting cut out of what sections of that paper, so they were a total surprise to me, and I love them. They're so beautiful. And here you can see I'm just going to start gluing them down. So this sort of design here of the 5 trees all scattered around I took from Kristina, and then I also did a few rows of trees, and I really just had fun and I played. And I think they turned out beautiful. I'm so happy with them. I really hope that you guys give this a try, because it is a great way to get a ton of cards done. I actually made a whole bunch more after this with all those extra cutouts, and I will have those on my Instagram. So go and check them out if you want to see some other cards that I was able to come up with. There are stills coming up here now, so you can see everything I've done. Thank you so much for stopping in this week. If you came here from Daisie's channel, I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming and taking a look. If you like what you see, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. I will leave links to Daisie's channel so you can see her card as well as Kristina's original card all down below. And until next week, happy scrapping! Bye!